Okay, we'll just wait a few moments while more people arrive. And for those of you who are here, I'll introduce Singh in voice, and he will be making his presentation on stream. Welcome everyone arriving. Just to let you know, we're going to be filmed here, so I'll be introducing Singh in 2 minutes at 6:35, and then Singh will be on stream, so you'll need to turn on your music stream to hear Singh and see him making his presentation. Hello everybody, welcome to the event Journey to the West, presented by Singh Albatros. You will need to have your music stream turned on after I talk so that you can hear him, and we're being filmed as well, so you'll be able to see it later on YouTube. Thank you to Chantal Harvey. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Chris Mooney Singh, known in Second Life as Singh Albatros. Great name. Today he will present Journey to the West, inspired by the ancient Chinese text featured at this year's Litfest. Singh has been on Second Life for many years. In his first life, Singh is an author of poetry and fiction, a filmmaker, and a teacher on an MA in creative writing, and he also has many other skills. He also organises literary festivals and other writing events, sometimes crossing over between the virtual world and real venues so that performers and students on both platforms can interact and enjoy each other's work. Starting out in life in Australia, he has moved from there to Singapore and India, and he's active in those and other countries. I know he's also been near me in London, and he's made contacts around the world who he visits, and he then lets them go on his stage where he is as well. Like other members of the Second Life community, Singh comes on very early in the morning and very late at night to be with us. It's the most difficult, I think, for his continent, and to share the experience of his part of the world. We appreciate that very much. I'll hand over to Singh for his presentation of Journey to the West. Chantal does have a problem with sound. Can we just check that the URL is in the correct?
I am.
Yes, I am. She may not be connected to the right. We don't need to rush ahead, so we can.
Yeah, it would be terrible to have a live stream without, with audio playing
Yes,
without
so let's
sound.
try. It must be a small thing that's
Yes, I have
causing it
the
because
stream open in my browser.
yes.
What else can I do?
Is it that it's not set in the correct LAN setting for you? Could that be it? Let me have a look because I didn't set it. So is it in media rather than music or something like that?
I have both media and
Yeah.
audio open and still don't hear. Uh, hang on, when I go to the camera and say start all, it won't work. Why? In this parcel, let's see if that works. Or to other avatars? No. All should work. No.
Yes, let's see what else. We'll try and do
I'm frantically
a
trying.
oops. We'll try and have a backup as well so that
We should have tested this before. Normally when I open it in my browser, it works, but it's a shoutcast. Why?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm just seeing if there's anything I can do with a different system. It'd just be such a pity to
Yeah, it's really a shame. And I'm sorry to interrupt like this, but I was also thrown under the bus. I'm opening it.
And kind of match it up later.
Yes, I hear. I've opened it in the VLC player. That did the trick. Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
good.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, you've done it. Oh,
I'll
brilliant.
be quiet.
I was trying to.
Okay,
I was going
thank
to
you.
film myself if it
Okay.
didn't, and I haven't for
Yeah.
a while.
Okay.
Good.
Great.
Okay. When you're ready, let's start over without my intro. That's okay.
So, are we ready to proceed? All right, sure. Thank you. So, yeah, technology is great. Just needs a bit of extra loving care before we get going. As I said, for those who've just come in, we're here for to hear about the journey to the West. In the West in this case is not the West as we think of it in Western countries. It's China's version of the West, which is India. More about that later. Before we get going, I wanted just to start with a short audio poem of mine, just to get us in that classical Chinese mood, called In the Dog of Heaven Shop. Let's get it going here. A 1,000 years stopped. When schoolboys came like hornets, toppling the Ming vase. 1,000 years stopped. O doormat dragon, the tourists step on your head. Do they hear you snort? O doormat dragon, dragon. When did grandfathers cut and glue their pigtails to these caps of silk? Grandfathers' pigtails. The dog of heaven guards the lucky cash register with porcelain eyes. The dog of heaven guards. And that was a short poem called In the Dog of Heaven Shop. It was written about an experience going into a Chinese emporium. But what we're here for now is to talk about Journey to the West. I'm going to give a little introduction, and I'm then also going to play some more audio poems and stories, and also read an excerpt from a novel of mine that's set in Singapore and has kind of similar mythological Chinese resonances. So let's begin. So, Journey to the West goes back to the late Ming Dynasty. It's a novel from around 1592. It was written by Wu Cheng, and bad pronunciation, I apologize, but best I can do. It's loosely based on the famous pilgrimage of Xuanshang, which happened kind of 1,000 years earlier. And it's a true story of the going to seek Buddhist scriptures, sutras from India. So, Journey to the West, also kind of friendly way, is often referred to as Monkey, because the Monkey King is one of the central characters, if not the central character in this whole piece. It's really the most popular, I think, and most enduring work of East Asian literature. It's written in Chinese vernacular prose, and it's interspersed with poetry, and it deals with gods and demons and Chinese mythology, fantasy, and above all, it's an adventure story. So it's loosely based, as I said, on this actual journey of this monk Huanshan in the 7th century. He crosses the desert wastes of Chinese Central Asia to get to India, and in the novel that's really equated with paradise. It's the home of Buddhism, and the mission is to collect those Buddhist texts and so on. So although the hero would seem to be the monk, it's really Monkey's sarcasm, his humour, his wit, his exuberance, that together with the dynamism of the many different characters still captivates us, I believe. So over the centuries and up until even today, it has spawned so many forms of illustrated woodblock printed books, ceramic artwork, shadow puppetry, paper cuts, children's toys, dramas, operas, as well as modern comics and animated films and television that rely heavily on CG effects. I think that in the day of virtual worlds, Monkey, or The Journey to the West, is a great text that we can depict in 3D. So, and as far as the philosophy of the book is concerned, it's a syncretism of Taoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism. They kind of coexist in the same cosmological universe in this book. It sounds like it's getting very heavy, but actually this is a very allegorical and enjoyable, easy to follow story, as you're going to hear it a little bit shortly. And these philosophies do underpin classical Chinese literature as well. Now, there are some parallels. If we have time, we can explore it a bit. I have a piece that may help us with that. Parallels between the Monkey King's story, Journey to the West, and the Ramayana, because in the Ramayana, the Indian epic where Rama goes in, to get his wife Sita back from Lanka, the Ravana, the 10-headed demon who steals her, if you can steal, that's not a right word for another human being, but who abducts Sita. And in that story, Hanuman, the monkey god in the Indian mythology, is very closely related, I think, to this story. So there are definitely overlaps in Asian literature and mythology. So who were the main characters? I'm going to run through a few slides, try to do it slowly because I realize that we're on stream, so we're a little bit lagged when it comes to, doing the visuals, but I will take it slowly. So we have basically 5 characters. There's the name of the monk, first of all. Let's call him, in the book he's called Tan San Shang. He rides upon a horse, and his protector companions are Sun Wukong, who is monkey, and let's see if we can skip through a little bit here. I've just put onto the screen a list of their names. So we have Tan San Shang, also known as Tripitaka, which is his name in Sanskrit, and Sun Wukong, Monkey King. We have Zhu Bajie, Pigsy, and Sha Wujing, Sandy. These two secondary characters are kind of ex-general demons who have been kicked out of heaven for various transgressions, as Monkey himself was at the beginning, in the early opening chapters of the book. And then our other final character is Yulong, the dragon horse. Now, interesting that this particular horse is actually not a horse, but he is a dragon who ate the monk's original horse and felt bad for doing so, and so he transforms himself into a horse for the course of this story. So they have lots of trials and tribulations, and that forms the narrative of the story, which is said to span about 14 years, though really only about 11 really are kind of accounted for in the novel. So while we're here, I'm going to play for you a poem that I wrote called Monkey Goes West, and I wrote it specially for this program. It's an audioscape poem, so let's have a listen, and I will also flick through the slides as we go. Monkey Goes West. I am the monkey of monkeys. Sun Wukong is my name. A rhesus macaque and demon, a rebel, a trickster of heaven. I fell from the Buddha's grace, banished to a mountain of stone, until I atoned to serve venerable monk Tang San Zang, or Tripitaka in Sanskrit. I'm known for amazing strength, an original superhero, or am I a thug in a robe? With the speed of a meteor, I hold 2 mountains on my shoulders and travel 108,000 li in a single somersault. I also control the weather and fix anyone on the spot with one whip of my tail. My enduring skill is evident among readers. I possess a monkey mind. I own the 72 transformations. Each hair on my head shapeshifts to animal, weapon, or object, but due to the untrainable tail, being human is beyond me. My companions are Zhu Bajie, or Pigsy, the gluttonous one, with a slew of low desires. Tubby Trouble and Slacker, he begrudges my prowess. Sha Wujing, the least wise, like Pig, was once a general in heaven, but shattered the crystal goblet and was banished to a river. Finally enter Yulong, the white dragon. He gobbled Tripitaka's horse. In remorse, he transformed into the white equine, a horse that can talk, of course, to carry our monk to the west. Yulong, fearful of danger, runs off when things get scary. Broken down, spindle-shanked, what do you expect of a dragon, pretending to be a horse, pretending to be human? Such is our freak crew. We thrive on escapades against the sovereign of chaos, the tiger, the bear, the buffalo, black wind and yellow wind demons, scorpion, demoness and red boy, spider women, iron fan, princess. Some say these are charlatan politicians, Confucian bureaucrats. The list goes on and on for 100 chapters, prose spliced with poems. Why us, you ask? We're outlaws, loud and venal. Sandy is a stout ogre and Pigsy's a slouch, and yet we were all recruited by Kuan Yin, Bodhisattva Perpetual, the Compassionate One. She saw something in us. In the service of the Buddha, mock monks we move, on the Nirvana quest. Demon-born we strive, and when we mess up, Master Tanzang San chants his migraine spell. Ah! A plain quotidian power that keeps us all in line. So that was a little poetic dramatis personae of this story. And this kind of whole quest it's quite vast to talk about. What the interesting thing to know about it, I believe, is that we have these imperfect creatures, just like us, these demonic but incredibly magical and talented people who, they're not people, they're kind of immortal beings who have been, kind of done some naughty stuff, and they've been sort of sent, in the case of Sandy, into a riverbed, and Monkey himself was initially locked up by Shakyamuni, actually. The actual physical Buddha that we refer to as Gautama Buddha, after no one else could do the job because he was creating too much havoc in the cosmos, and Pigsy and so on. So these characters are selected through the grace of the Bodhisattva Kuan Yin, the goddess of compassion, to be protectors of Tan San Shang on this quest to go and get these Buddhist sutras. So the whole course of the story is about redemption, I guess, finding ways to kind of go beyond their lower demonic natures to become enlightened beings eventually. So what I want to share with you now is an excerpt from an earlier part of the novel, chapter 2 in fact, before really we get to know much about the quest as such. But what I wanted to share with you is a little portrait of the central character, Monkey. So this really is about his encounter with a demon, and it'll give us a little background. Here we go. As the handsome Monkey King stood gazing in silence at this view, he heard voices. When he went down the mountainside to look, he found the cave in the belly of the water facing the cliff. Several minor demons were dancing around in front of the cave doors, and they ran away as soon as they saw Sun Wukong. "Wait a moment," Sun Wukong said. "I want you to take a message for me. I am the king of the water curtain cave in the mountain of flowers and fruit that lies due south of here." I've come to find that demon of confusion of yours, or whatever he's called, the one that's been mistreating my children and grandchildren, and have it out with him." The minor demons scuttled into the cave and reported, "A disaster, your majesty." "What do you mean, disaster?" the Demon King asked. "There's a monkey outside the cave," the minor demons reported, "who says that he's the king of the water curtain cave on the mountain of flowers and fruit. He says that you have been bullying his children and grandchildren, and he's come to specifically find you and have it out with you." The Demon King laughed. These monkey devils are always going on about a king of theirs who renounced the world to cultivate his conduct. I suppose it must be him who's here now. Did you see how he was dressed, or what weapons he was carrying? He hasn't any weapons. He's bareheaded, and he's wearing a red gown belted with a yellow silver sash and a pair of black boots. He isn't dressed like a monk or a layman or an immortal. He's bare-handed and empty-fisted, and he's standing outside the doors yelling. "Bring me my armor and weapons," said the Demon King as he heard this. The minor demons produced them at once, and when he had donned his armor, he went out of the door with all his demons, his sword in hand. "Who is this king of the water curtain cave?" he roared. Sun Wukong took a quick look at him and saw on his head he wore a dark golden helmet, glistening in the sun. On his body he wore a black silk gown flapping in the breeze. Below that he wore black metal armor girt with a leather belt. On his feet he wore patterned boots as splendid as a field marshal's. His waist was 10 feet round, and his height was 30 cubits. In his hand he held a sword with gleaming point and edge. He called himself the Demon King of Confusion, and his appearance was truly dazzling. "You insolent demon!" shouted the Monkey King. "Your eyes may be big, but you can't see who I am." The Demon King laughed at him. "You don't even stand 4 feet from the ground. You're still in your 20s, and you've got no weapon in your hand. What sort of mad courage makes you challenge me to a fight?" said the Demon King. "You insolent demon," retorted Sun Wukong. "How blind you are! You may think I'm small, but I can grow easily enough. You may think I'm unarmed, but I can pull the moon down from the sky with my 2 hands. Don't worry, old Sun Wukong will sock you one." Sun Wukong gave a jump and leapt into the air, taking a swing at his face. The Demon King put out his hand and to stop him and said, "Look how big I am, you dwarf. If you use your fist, I'll use my sword. And I'd only make myself look ridiculous if I killed you with a sword, wouldn't I, Wait till I've put my sword down, and then I'll give you a display of boxing." "Well said," exclaimed Sun Wukong. "Spoken like a man. Come on, then. Give it up." The Demon King dropped his guard to punch, throwing his fist forward, and Sun Wukong rushed in towards him, punching and kicking back. When he spread out his hand, it was enormous, and when he clenched his fist, it was very hard. Sun Wukong hit the demon in the ribs, kicked his backside, smashed several of his joints. The Demon King seized his steel sword that was as big as a plank and swung it at Sun Wukong's skull. Sun Wukong dodged the blow, and the sword only split air. Seeing how ugly the Demon King had turned, Sun Wukong used his magic art of getting extra bodies. He started to pull out one of his hairs, popped it in his mouth, chewed it up, and blew it out into the air, shouting, "Change!" It turned into 200 or 300 little monkeys, who all crowded round him. Sun Wukong now had an immortal body, and there was no magic transformation of which he was not capable. Since he had followed the way, he could change each of the 84,000 hairs on his body into anything he wanted. The little monkeys were too quick and nimble for sword or spear. Look at them, leaping forwards and jumping backwards, rushing up and surrounding the Demon King, grabbing him, seizing him, poking him in the backside, pulling at his feet, punching him, kicking him, tearing his hair out, scratching at his eyes, twisting his nose, all picking him up together and throwing him to the ground. Thump! They went on until they had beaten him to a pulp. Sun Wukong snatched his sword from him, told the little monkeys to get out of the way, and brought it down on the crown of his head, splitting it in two. Then he led his forces charging into the cave, where they exterminated all the demons, big and small. He shook his hair and put it back on his body. The monkeys who did not go back on his body were the little monkeys the Demon King had carried off from the water curtain cave. Sun Wukong asked them how they had got there. There were 30 or 40 of them, and they replied with tears in their eyes, "It was after your Majesty went off to become an immortal. He had been fighting with us for the last 2 years. He brought us all here by force. All the things here, the stone bowls and plates, were stolen from our cave by that beast." "If it's our stuff, take it all out," said Sun Wukong. He then set fire to the belly of the cave of the water and burnt it to a cinder. "Come back with me," he ordered the monkeys. "Your Majesty," they replied, "when we came here all we could hear was the wind howling in our ears as if it blew us here. So we don't know the way. How are we going to get back?" "There's nothing at all to that spell he used," said Sun Wukong. "I can do it too, as now I have only to know the smallest bit about something to understand it completely. Shut your eyes and don't worry." Splendid Monkey King, he recited a spell, took them riding on a hurricane, and then brought the cloud down to the ground. "Open your eyes and look, children," he shouted. As soon as the monkeys' feet touched the ground, they recognized their home. In their delight, they all ran along the familiar path to the cave, and the monkeys who had stayed in the cave all crowded in as well. They divided themselves into age groups and bowed in homage to the Monkey King. Wine and food was laid out to celebrate, and they asked him how he had defeated the Demon King and saved their children. When Sun Wukong had told them the whole story, the monkeys were in full admiration. "Where did you learn such arts, Your Majesty?" they asked insistently. "When I left you," Sun Wukong replied, "I followed the waves and the currents and drifted across the eastern ocean to the southern Jambu continent. Here I taught myself to take human form and to wear those clothes and boots. I swaggered around for 8 or 9 years, but I never found the way. So I sailed across the western ocean to the western continent of cattle. After long inquiries, I was lucky enough to meet a venerable immortal who taught me the true result, which makes me as immortal as heaven, and the great Dharma gate to eternal youth." The monkeys all congratulated him and exclaimed that his like could not be found in 1 billion years. Sun Wukong laughed and said, "Children, we should congratulate ourselves on having a surname." "What's your Majesty's surname?" the monkey masses asked. My surname is now Sun, and my Buddhist name is Wukong. The monkeys all clapped their hands with joy and said, Your Majesty is old Sun, and we are second son, third son, thin son, little son, a family of sons, a nation of sons, a den of sons. They all offered old Sun their respects, with big plates and small bowls of coconut toddy, grape wine, magic flowers, and magic fruit. The whole household was happy, my word. By uniting themselves with a single surname, they are waiting to be transformed, to be transferred to the register of immortals. And that is our little excerpt from this wonderful 100-chapter epic work, Journey to the West. Hopefully it'll give you a flavour of the hijinks, the comedic nature of the story, which also has lots of important philosophy behind it as well. All right. Glad that you're travelling here with us. I'm flicking through a couple of the slides now. If you look up ahead, you'll see a depiction of monkey doing battle with a demon, and he meets with lots of demons along the way. Of course, I mean, he's a demon after all, but he's a good demon, let's say, a demon being redeemed. All right, so glad that you're enjoying that, and just take a moment here to welcome people who have come along. I can see Judy too, welcome, and Silver Fox and Heather and Wavelocks and Leslie. How are you doing, Leslie? Good to see you here. And Ava, is it Ailva? I'm not sure. Ailva. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And Gillith. And there are others here in the distance, but I haven't been able to fully get your names yet. There's Willie Nort, and welcome to everybody. So let's move on. These pictures that I'm showing you now come from Singapore, and they come from a particular place called Ha Po Villa. Now, this is an interesting part of Singapore's history. Two brothers came together at one point and created a product called Tiger Balm, well known throughout the world. It was the formula from the family back in Fujian in South China. One brother was the chemist or the herbalist, and the other brother was the marketing genius. And as a kind of homage to their traditions, they created their villa on many hectares of land on a hilltop. And so here they created a kind of a Chinese mythological Disneyland. I'm just going to flick through a few of the slides here because they also depict Journey to the West. And I thought it'd be interesting just to kind of give you a little contemporary look at some of the parts of this place and this weird kind of mythological Disneyland. Somewhat kitsch, you could say. Some of it is mythological, some of it is just fantastical, incredibly weird. Like this creature, this man-headed crab, if you can see that. So we have other animal creatures, like this face-off between two crickets and an elephant versus another creature. What is that creature? It's maybe a hippo or something like that. Then we have frolicking bare-breasted mermaids all this is created in ceramic type sculpture. Hopefully I'm not flicking too quickly, that you get a chance to see, because my voice is a little bit lagged to when I click on the slides. And here we have a fish or a turtle man who's having a conversation with Fish Girl from one of the mythological tales. And the frescoes of these stories are depicted here at Ha Po Villa. Ha and Po are the combined names of the two brothers. Now this one is just not mythological, and somebody using an old-fashioned telephone, a badger and a reindeer looking on with a turtle coming up with a cup of tea. Work that one out. It's quite a fun place and quite strange. Now, one of the stranger parts of this mythological place are the 10 hells, depicting those 10 demonic places. Last time I read an excerpt from my novel, Ghosts on a Bumboat, and that story took us through those 10 hells. But I thought I'd read another part of the novel tonight. So let's have a look at this section. My novel really is it's a set in contemporary Singapore, but just like Monkey, the shape-shifting demon god who can change into any form that he likes, so does the central character of my story in this kind of urban fantasy, speculative type fictional novel set in modern Singapore, which has an underbelly of mythology, both Chinese, Malay, and Indian, which are the three dominant kind of cultures in Singapore. So the main character of my story, Ghosts on a Bumboat. Bumboat refers to a flat-bottomed barge that was used to unload sailing vessels in the 19th century, early parts of the colony. And in the Singapore River lives the guardian of the water clan, a golden carp. That's his favoured form, although he can be any form he or she wants to be. The golden carp isn't really a he or a she, so androgynous, I guess. And what's the purpose of this golden carp and the water clan? Well, he's a benign elemental force. He or she is a benign elemental force, can appear in any body of water or take any form on land, and oversees a group called the Water Clan, which is composed of humans who he recruits, animals, and also other kind of elemental forces. So in this story, we have the main character of the story, Captain Alvin Lee, who is a new recruit to the Water Clan, and he has been taken off to meet with the superior of the Golden Carp, the guardian of the Water Clan, who controls not only Singapore, but this character called the Geomancer controls the region. And he lives inside a hill. Now, in this section, all of the characters, they speak telepathically. And Alvin, who is a new recruit to the Water Clan, has suddenly had his telepathy switched on in an earlier chapter, and he can also converse. So here it begins. So the first part is where the Golden Carp speaks. The sun halos the hill. I have directed Alvin here to meet my clan counterpart and mentor. An elemental guardian like me, he can inhabit any form. This being administrates, like me, from the 8th plane, yet is a century or two my senior. His earth residence is here within the hidden layers of clay and rock. Tough and severe, he travels along the dragon veins running underneath the Malay Peninsula and beyond. His jurisdiction covers the whole of Southeast Asia. Thus, our little island is just one of the centres in his portfolio. He is very busy, hence my difficulty in getting time with him. I sense him now on the higher portion of the side trail of Little Guilin, the lake and mountain fenced off from the public. Alvin, it is time to meet the geomancer. Alvin slipped through the wire and took the southern track up the wild back of the little mountain. As he walked the steep incline, he caught a glimpse of an upright staff pointed on the rise above. Poised there on the rise above, a cloud of birds fluttered in the upper tree tangle, chirping, "We are with you, Captain, this way." Squirrels scurried, flashing their black stripes up tree trunks, while a squadron of tiny dog-faced bats turned and returned above. "Continue up the steps to the rise, Captain." But when he reached the designated spot, there was no sign of the moving staff. The Golden Carp speaks. "A word of warning, Captain. The geomancer and I rarely meet, and only then about desperate matters. Be careful what you say." There was an opening covered by thorn bushes. Without warning, the tall stick poked from inside, revealing a crack for Alvin to squeeze through. It was narrow and sharp. Thorns lashed out at the intrusion, drawing blood. Nevertheless, he crawled down the small entranceway, open to a bigger chamber, tall enough for him to stand upright. He felt stings of pain on his arms and shoulders, and instinctively tried to see the places where thorns had broken skin. And then the walking staff standing at the other end of the entrance. He could now see that it had been a gnarled knob at the top end with a metallic stop at the other. It struck 3 times on the ground. The knob end pointed forward for Alvin to follow. He had to bend to keep up, passing through a limestone funnel into the belly of the hill. They reached a cavern where stalagmites and stalactites ascended and descended like the teeth of some prehistoric saurian along the sides of an underground trickle leading to a pool. This was the source of Little Guilin Lake. He began to wonder why he was here, but seeing the flash of the golden carp in the water made him feel relief. After hearing the golden carp guardian talk with considerable awe, even fear of the geomancer, he truly wondered what someone like himself had to offer in the circumstances. The prospect of meeting a leader of the elemental clan was a lot to take in, and Alvin thought it was safe to say nothing and just to listen hard. Nevertheless, it was very strange to see the walking stick standing upright as if supported by an unseen hand before the pool. The golden carp was also here. It leapt up out of the water, then resumed moving in figure-8 patterns. To Alvin's surprise, he could now hear the end of the stick moving backwards and forwards, as if a person was pacing there, and more importantly, the stick was conversing to the guardian. He pushed away the feeling of being a guilty child listening in on the grown-ups, but curiosity got the better of him, so he took a step closer to the edge of the pool. The carp swam close by, fins and tail stationary in the current. The guardian, too, was waiting to be spoken to. "When did we last meet?" "After 1969, the National riots, Venerable One. Ah, not so long ago. Your interventions saved lives. We are still in your debt. I heard that you wanted to see me. About what? A change of department? A higher post? I would never presume. You have been designated control of this island. Can't you manage your assignment? Why drag me into it? Venerable Geomancer, I don't want to waste your time, but we are faced with an emergency that could spread to the peninsula. We must quarantine it. And who is this? Captain Alvin Lee, a new Grade 2 water clansman. The case in hand involves him. Alvin bows his head. The wooden staff, which had been doodling some pattern in the dirt, stops and rubs it out. Then it bangs the metal stop hard on the ground twice in quick succession. All right, hurry up. Tell me what you want. A headless ghost has cursed a foreigner who is now in hospital. According to Water Clansman Regulation G/223, this old soul comes under our mutual Ven jurisdiction. The aggrieved ghost has threatened to unleash the demonic energies beyond Hungry Ghost Month. Presently, I am busy, Guardian, with the internal dislodgements within the geomorphic layers causing tsunamis. But, Venerable One, the ancient dead have no place to rest their bones. The headless shaman could break open the hell gates. He aims to create a chaotic causeway stretching from the ghostly wards all through Southeast Asia. I see. The hungry hordes will bring about such mental imbalance that mortals will begin to murder, rape, and commit atrocities against each other. An opening here will feed to your jurisdiction and then beyond. I was hoping that it wouldn't come to this, Guardian. Time is pressing, Venerable Geomancer. I must reset the disturbed chi lines, Guardian, after you have done with this headless chap. You need to whisper into the ear of the great leader to minimize all this uprooting and reclamation, plus this crisscrossing of massive railway transit tunneling on your corporation island, which is affecting the chi lines of the whole region. Yes, Venerable One, those in charge are indeed putting a timestamp on the region's future. We have to work within set parameters. Human actions may topple us all. We are fighting with one hand tied behind our back. Yes, Geomancer. As always, Guardian of the Water Clan, you are doing well. I am impressed with your general administrative approach, including this new recruitment policy and way of deploying clan associates to get the jobs done. The Geomancer's staff points at Alvin. Send me some of your recent cases to study. We will try to replicate your approach. In fact, I will speak with the Sumatran Guardian. Perhaps a joint-pronged attack can address the deforestation issues and regional haze pollution once and for all. He needs more effective clan workers on the ground. Thank you, Geomancer. I will send them along. Once more, we are in your debt. The staff draws an octagon. With it, the old outline of Singapore lights up. He further reveals chi lines that interlink the original Hindu and Buddhist temples not found on any modern chart. The light grid expands beyond Singapore to original homelands, from whence the earliest migrations came in past centuries. Guardian, these nodes intersect with the region. I will recalibrate the energy lines, and I can only hold the grid in place for one night. You must marshal your forces quickly. That is your job, and maybe his. Alvin was glad to have been acknowledged. Perhaps there was a real purpose in his being included in this strategy or planning session. Thank you, Venerable One. We will not disappoint you. I and the captain will always stay in close contact. We will put your plan into action. Enough! The Guardian of the Water Clan leaps once more in a flourishing fishtail salute as Alvin bows. Go, that way. The staff points with its metal end. Downstream. Light issues from the end of the stick, revealing a small bridge. Alvin crosses. The trail brings him out at a lower point of the mountain. And that was an excerpt from Ghosts on a Bumboat. It's a novel that's still to be published, but contemporary, but full of myth and weird stuff, let's say. I hope you enjoyed it. So, I wanted to also share with you one or two other short pieces, returning to a monkey theme. I should mention that Singh Albatros was born in the year of the monkey. I'm sure there are other monkeys amongst the audience, like Monkey Cat. So you'll enjoy this next piece, which is a poem that looks at that kind of relationship with the Indian monkey, the Hanuman monkey, let's say. And this is called Monkey Tales. It's a series of short little separate flash fictions, let's put it that way. Here we go. Monkey Matters by Chris Mooney Singh. Monkey circus comes to the village. Collared on string leads, the charade began. Husband sat on a can. Wife complained in monkey tongue. He cupped hands over ears. Her complaints got louder. Sick and tired, he cuffed her. She ran off screaming. He'd done it now. The turbaned trainer passed a banana. Husband offered, wife took, twisted off the squishy neck, ate. Then, eyeing spouse, gave half back. Peace was restored. Years away from arranged marriages, children whistled and clapped. The white-cheeked macaques walked forward on hind legs. Time to pay. The foreign teacher dropped 3 grubby rupees into the monkey cup, one for each ex-husband. Interview with a simian god. The Bolly Buzz reporter came for an exclusive interview with the baby Hanuman, a chubby 6-year-old. What do you like about portraying a monkey god? Doing the flying stunts and fighting evil. What do school friends say? They ask about the show. Some call me as Hanuman only. Do you have a Hanuman doll? No, but we keep an idol of Hanumanji in our house and pray. Do you watch the show at home? No, sir. I play with my cars and on PlayStation. The makeup artist painted on the red circle, suggesting a monkey mouth. Then the little god left for the shoot. A monkey's tale. The medical delegation came to see the living monkey god. Born with a 33-centimetre tail, the spina bifida man had become a rare object of devotion. He monkeyed about and gobbled bananas. Believers touched his exposed stump to get healed. One foreign doctor offered to remove it. No, he said, it is Lord Hanuman's blessing. Meanwhile, 20 women had rejected him. "I will only marry she who loves my tail. Otherwise I will stay bachelor like Hanumanji." Next, someone mentioned Spider Davy in Bangalore, the girl child with 4 arms and 4 legs. The eminent delegation rushed to catch their flight. Monkey art. At the station, they saw the god on the pavement. He wore a gilt crown, loincloth, his whole body painted orange red. Garlanded with marigolds, he also had a yogi's traditional rudraksha rosary about his neck and upheld a big gada, a shiny mace, his symbolic weapon. That would have been a marvellous feat of strength had the club not been papier-mâché. Thus the divine idol stood unblinkingly, waiting for passers-by to drop money in his bowl. Then some cynic walked up and eyeballed him. The mischievous god gave a sudden primate bark, and the unbeliever ran for his life. A blind eye. Mahatma Gandhi owned one possession, a statuette of the 3 wise monkeys, who together embody the proverbial maxim to see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. When India was partitioned in 1947, slicing Punjab like a melon down the middle, M.K. Gandhi could not turn a blind eye. Neither could he stop the exodus and mutual slaughter of millions of Hindus, Sikhs and Muslims. After the killings, Nathuram Godse, an anti-Muslim Hindu nationalist, fired 3 bullets from his Beretta point blank into Gandhi's chest. "Hey Ram," uttered the god-man dying. Hanuman's brethren munched fresh contraband in the trees. The U.S. President and the City of Monkeys. When Barack Obama came to Delhi, everyone went on primate alert. Already, the deputy mayor attacked on his balcony had fallen to his death. Delhi police risked monkey uprisings, vowing to sacrifice their lives for the nation's prestige. Monkey catchers came out in force, baiting cages with bananas. Public boulevards were patrolled by gypsy jeeps. The Black Cat squads had anti-insurgent strategies in place. But the government's secret weapon, and the macaque's jungle rival, lanky langur monkeys, unleashed by handlers, were set roaming around the president's walled residence. Meanwhile, special prayers were offered in the temples, appealing to Lord Hanuman to keep the peace. Monkey rule. Despite the lying of the microphone, there will be the noble bellowing of a buffalo. Despite hydroelectric schemes and promises, there will be a cuckoo drinking only raindrops. Despite the hunting season on dissidents, there will be another mongoose on the road. Despite machine guns in the bazaar, there will be a militia of minor birds. Despite the cost of dignity, there will be a sacred cow to stop the traffic. Despite the lure of the city, the night deer will dance in the wheat field. Despite the rise of fanatics to government, there will always be monkeys to rule the ruins. Indeed, there will always be monkeys to rule the ruins. Hence my homage to the noble monkey. And whether they're from China or India, the great monkey gods of our stories, like Journey to the West, have stuck in our minds. And it's been a real pleasure to be able to share some of these allegorical and mythological stories and my own personal attempts. I want to finish the program with a piece which also comes from the Chinese tradition. It relates to that phase of time called the Autumn Moon Festival, which is coming soon. Now, this is a time when a particular sweetmeat is created. It has some history behind it, both mythological as well as political, going back to post-Tang period times. And the story that we're talking about here, this particular sweetmeat is called a moon cake. So I'm just going to play this as a signing off, and it's very short. Let's just go with it. Let's say it celebrates poetry and story making. Holding the moon here in my hand. The legends are always about politics and sex. Like Lady Ur, who swam away to the moon to cool the anger of her emperor husband. Or another tale tells how rice paper messages were baked into sweetmeats to unseat a government. Yes, Mr. President of the Republic, people still offer mooncakes in autumn. Putting aside all the high-flown myths, let me steal you away from the old cake shop and its sexy legends tonight. I simply want to eat you, mooncake, with or without your jade rabbits, three-legged toads, moon lady designs and cinnamon tree grows baked on top. I want all of your red date smoothness, your black bean paste possibilities, your eclectic garnish of nuts. Let's get fat on double egg yolks, solidified into lotus lard. Let me tear you open like red cellophane. Let me unlid you and reach inside. Let me bite into you hard with force and determination. Let me search out your moistness with my tongue. Now, all that matters is the poetry of the night. Holding the moon here indeed that's what we're trying to do. I think as writers, as creators, we hold the moon in our hand and try to make that light shine on anything that we create. And I think that's perhaps part of the power of myth as well. Stories like Journey to the West have incredible amount of light in them, and it's been my pleasure to try to shed some light on some of the story and some of those traditions. And I'd like to thank you very much for the time that you've given us with your ears, and to thank Chantal for recording this, and for Adele for introducing it and setting this up. If you're interested in any of my other writing and work, I'm going to drop a URL in here to the chat. That'll take you to my website and various things. And there's also a book that you can download, a free ebook, and feel free. Just go there and subscribe to it and enjoy that book. And inside that book, there is an embedded video of my recent that film that I was talking about very early on before we began the program, which is a sort of blended reality bit of filmmaking that combines machinima work with kind of storytelling from Singapore, where I live. And so feel free to kind of go there, download that ebook, and drop us a comment anytime. Love to keep in touch. You can always check me out as Chris Mooney Singh on Facebook as well. I'll write my name in the chat. And Singh Albatros in Second Life. Without further ado, thank you very much. And I will end the stream here and come back into real life chat. Now, if there's anybody who has any questions, we can also deal with those as well. So the stream endeth.
Thank you on behalf of everyone saying it into chat. Thank you so much, Singh. That really was an extraordinary event, and I'm so glad we managed to have it at this time so I could see it. We've had it before at the fair, but at different times. Singh has come on at all different times to reach all of us around the world who need to log on at different times. That was stunning. I love that ending, shining a light, using our creativity to shine a light on what we do. That presentation certainly did do that, and it will be available. Thank you to Chantal Harvey. It will be available on YouTube. It's been live streaming to YouTube and will be available there afterwards, so I'll share it with more people. If anyone has any questions, do type them into chat. And there's also a book table at the exit to this venue, and importantly there's a kiosk. All of these events at Fantasy Fair here and Litfest raise money for Relay for Life. We were on more than 14 million Linden dollars yesterday. You can convert that into your own currency. So if you've enjoyed this, thanks to people like Singh, we raise a fantastic amount for the cancer charity Relay for Life. Any questions here for Singh, or just any comments as well?
And I'm here back in voice. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're very clear.
Great. Thanks for being so patient and being with us during this time. And that's a great achievement. 14. Did you say 14 million lindens?
I know it's hard to believe. Yes, more than 14 million, and it will be a lot higher before we end. I think people quite often don't realise just how much real money can be raised on Second Life. A lot of us have lost people to cancer, or have had people survive cancer thanks to the great work done by these associations. So let's keep it going.
Indeed. Yes, do donate. And I hope everybody's been having a great fantasy fair. I need to get around and do some more stepping around, actually. I've just been a little bit caught between real life and Second Life at the present time. So, is there anything that had come up during this presentation that you wanted to ask, to raise, to discuss? It's all good. We were not doing such a formal lecture, a mixture. But I would very much encourage people to go online and seek out, maybe the Gutenberg versions of Journey to the West. There are paid ones as well, but there are some good translations that are free online. It's really worth reading. It's a wonderful story, and it's fresh. It's still, it continues on to this day. I think the translations are keeping up to keeping up to speed with our modern diction of this period in time as well. Thank you for coming along, Jolly. Really appreciate it, and thanks to Kumi and T. Sorry, here in the front. You're a cute-looking creature. Love the friendlies. Just don't we love you? And there's Dorian, Jake, and Zombie Gal. So again, thank you all for coming. Time for me to, I think, drop down off my high perch and be a mere mortal again. There we are.
Yeah, these flowers make me think there's an Australian saying, isn't there? Is it tall daisy syndrome, and people like to cut you down if you're a tall daisy?
Well, we call it tall poppy syndrome.
Oh, tall poppy. I got it. It's tall lotuses. You're up on your tall
flora
lotus.
was the right metaphor though.
It was close in a way. There aren't many tall. Actually, though, we do have some very tall daisies around here.
They are, and these are beautiful. It's a lovely build, this, isn't it?
Yes, Fiona Fay's build is spectacular. It's like walking through her ink and brush drawings.
Yes, indeed. And that reminds me of a great story also from Chinese mythology, in that being the story of Tu Wu Su, a famous Tang period painter who was challenged by the emperor at that time to do battle with his brush. He was a painter with another guy who was a general. The general, who was a great painter, was in the sort of realistic tradition, whereas Wu Su was basically a black brush and ink man. And during this particular story, what he does is he walks into the painting and disappears into all of the Pure Lands and all those kind of purgatorial regions of Buddhism. So I think that's pretty close to the spirit of this place.
Yes, it definitely is. Definitely is.
Yes, this style of painting, although this has kind of got some added color, this black and white style, that you'll find in a lot of Chinese art, that's kind of a tradition called the Shan Sui tradition, the mountain and river kind of painting tradition. When you see all of those kind of incredible, kind of 1,000 leagues of mountains being depicted on Chinese classical paintings, and they are they're meant to represent kind of the universe, not just physical worlds. And a lot of them are done in that black ink style. Glad you enjoyed that, Z Moo. Well, I think that we don't need to prolong it. I'm here, happy to meet anybody and chat further. But thank you very much for coming along.
Yes,
Enjoy your fantasy fair.
I have to go off and do my next thing. I wish I could just sit here. I absolutely love that. And thanks again. I'm going to get a hot drink and go on to the next
Thank you
event.
as well for being
Bye,
here and
Chris.
setting it all up.
I'll
Do you need
I'll
to
be in
change the
touch.
stream? Do you need to change the stream back?
They will have to. I'll tell them they can turn the
Okay.
stream back. The person from Fantasy Fair backstage who did that for us.
Sure.
Oh, there's my dog kicking off. I'll turn my voice off.
All right.